I think that's a false dichotomy, really. I've called for people in the telecoms industry using the term OTT to be fired for gross incompetence in the past. I think it's basically a keyword for saying bits of the internet we don't like, which is deeply hypocritical because all telcos have their own internet services, not least their own websites. Operator.com is an OTT service, particularly if they're offering customer care functions or anything else. In terms of where do service providers fit versus let's say Facebook or WhatsApp. Now, it depends what market you're looking at. If it's for voice communications, there is going to be a mix. There is going to be a long tail of essentially boring old telephony. That's not going to go away, but it is definitely diminishing in both value and volume. UK originated calls fell by 15% over the last 5 years, something that's adding fixed and mobile together despite plummeting prices and more competition. So I think in some areas there will certainly be a lot more competition. I don't see, however, service providers having much of a role in terms of social networking, diminishing role of messaging. As always, RCS it was dead, it is dead, and it will continue to be dead. It's a zombie. But I think there's some interesting opportunities around enterprise services, perhaps IoT, and it's going to vary from operator to operator as to exactly how and where they deliver internet-based capabilities. It's a complicated one, actually, and a lot of it comes down to what you define as 5G, which is itself it's almost like a philosophical debate as to whether it's driven by standards, whether it's running on sort of multi-year plans as per the ITU and 3GPP, or whether you buy into, say, more the Verizon and some of the Korean visions, where actually fibre might be the last 5G might be the last 100-metre access from a fibre node. And so I think that actually it's going to be a useful part of the fixed broadband firmament in the near future. I know a lot of people talk about 3 use cases for 5G of enhanced mobile broadband, critical IoT and massive IoT. In my view, there's a 4th, which is fixed broadband use cases, and not even last mile, but last 1/10 of a mile. And I suspect it will probably occur first in the 28 gigahertz band in North America and Korea. And I suspect it won't go direct to the end device, but will be mediated with next-gen Wi-Fi in the middle. I think that beyond that, we'll see it as a variation of mobile broadband, probably 2018-19 timeframe to kick off. And then the various IoT aspects to it, which I think are quite complicated in terms of both business model and technology. So I think that there will be an interesting complex interdependency between 5G and fibre. It'll vary depending on spectrum allocations in different countries, and it will particularly be based on use cases. So you can imagine in a factory, robots which are standing in one place will probably still have a fibre connection for the last metre. However, the drones will probably need to have some sort of managed spectrum wireless connectivity. Whether that is 5G or whether it's an enhanced version of Wi-Fi is unclear. And if it is 5G, I think one of the interesting possibilities is that it is private 5G. And I think that one of the things that is missing at the moment is a better way of doing shared access spectrum, because I don't think that traditional mobile operators will be the ones to deliver all of the 5G services, particularly in IoT domains. Right, well, there's a couple of different things here, and one is the sort of internal versus external split for virtualization. And there's a lot of talk about telco cloud, and will we have one data center to rule them all, which has the network running in NFV, the internal OSS running on a virtualized form, and delivering cloud everything from communications to flying robots as a service, or whatever it happens to be that we talk about in IoT. And I don't expect to see this one cloud to rule them all approach to virtualization. We will see a lot more NFV, yes. I think you will see some use of internalized IT infrastructure. And I think that's, however, moving from a world of legacy where there are thousands of systems to perhaps one where there are hundreds. And also I expect quite a few capabilities, both internal and external, to be either onboarded or delivered from external providers as well. All of this changes perhaps for niche service providers that are set up as greenfield operations. And that could be actually internally within an existing telco. So it could be their IoT business unit or their enterprise unit might be more capable of having a sort of unified cloud. But I think that I don't buy this one cloud to rule them all any more than the one network to rule them all view in 5G. For me, I go to a lot of communications industry conferences, and I think the sweet spot is this sort of 100 to 300 person event where there's a good curation of topics, where the right people, where it's not too beholden to sponsors either, where there's opportunity for direct interaction, there's not over focus on silly event technology tools. I quite like the fact that we're voting on debates in a sort of yay or nay form with sort of green and red pieces of cardboard on a wooden stick. And I think that it's an appropriately analog event, which gives the lie to this view, pervasive view that everything will be digital. Well, in fact, analog and physical technologies still have an awful lot to do, and I think that this conference has both the right people and the approach to getting the right participation from both the speakers and the audience.